Hey, IDs, it's Wednesday, and I just got a chance to look through the instructor perspective discussion that we had last week, where you gave you rated some instructors on how they did with their instructor perspective, and of course the results were rather interesting. Semester to the semester, the results are pretty much the same, although not completely. But it's interesting because we have four different types of 4 or 5 different types of instructor perspective, and it's good to kind of just take a close look and kind of prescriptively look at them and make some comments and think them through. Richard Strasser, his particular example is a rather polished one, obviously. That was a professionally done video, and and it was it's interesting because it looks wonderful, and there's lots of good multimedia in there, obviously, right? But it's funny because it seems like he's always taken to task on his, because it doesn't appear to be as fluidly personalized as some of the other ones. It's clear, right? It's not as personalized. It's professional, but he seems distant in that one, right? And as you can imagine, or as you probably guessed, he's using a teleprompter, right? So it's not really casual, informal speak like what we would have with an ultimate or a good Clark and Mayer personalized video, right? So there's that one. Of course, Professor Becker. Professor Becker's one is a really good, I think, a really good example of taking something that's rather complicated, a complicated concept, and then making a video using very simple graphics, making them move, adding some text to it, and explain it that way. So his is good in that regard. One of the things that I always question about that is his accent, his Chilean accent, a distraction to people watching that video. I'm not sure. It doesn't seem to me, at least based on the IDs and how they review it, it doesn't really make a difference. It's it's the content, it's what's presented there, it's the message, it's the thought that gives him normally a good rating on that particular video. Now there's two other videos that are both done by Professor Tom Cullinane. And his are rather interesting too. He does he does the one with the termination tree, and he also does the one that's the pure audio one. That's kind of interesting too. I know that the audio one sometimes is kind of gets a lower rating normally because it doesn't involve pictures, right? Clark and Mayer are always saying that that words with pictures are better than words by themselves, right? And of course, in this particular case, there's no pictures to go along with it. But it also brings to light something that I have not mentioned, but it's actually rather important, and that is that it kind of connects. Those two videos kind of connect with the Slava Kali-Yuga's multimedia principle that can be found. Actually, there's an article in it, or a chapter in Richard Mayer's Cambridge Handbook on Multimedia Learning, I think it's called. Slava Kali-Yuga's got an article in there, and actually he invented or coined the whole idea of the expertise reversal effect, if you've ever heard of that. But it's a very important one, a very insightful one for multimedia, and that really what that really says is that depending on your level of expertise, there is an inverse relationship to the effectiveness of multimedia. So what do we mean there? If you're an expert, according to this theory, if you're an expert, if you have a piece of media that's very descriptive, that's very visually based, and all of that, it isn't as effective as to them as it would be if you were going to use something like with a related concept, use just a straight reading, because they don't need it. It's a distraction when you're an expert, and you'd rather just use a reading. Now, If you're not an expert at all, if you're very new to it, then the multimedia can be very helpful if it's thoughtfully done. That's kind of relates to those two videos there. With the termination tree in particular. If the audience is something of an expert, it may not be as effective to those experts than it would be for somebody that's new to it. So just kind of bear that in mind. It's a very important principle, and it's one that sometimes comes up, but not always. One thing about this week, it's obviously it's a formative assessment week, and the assessments, of course, are two of my favorite modules. But have you just so you know that this week and next week with summative assessment, these assessments essentially are going to be just that. They're going to be submitted as an assignment. All right, even though they're going to be pieces that are going to be in your final course project. All right. And the reason for that is I want to be able to give you a feedback on both of those being so vitally important. I want to make sure that you have the best opportunity to put the best artifact into your final course as possible. All right. So great work on that discussion, and we'll see you later. Bye.